When I was going through breast cancer 5 years ago, it was so hard. And I just had a lot of hard days. And I would say to myself, like, one step at a time, one glass of water at a time. And I would force myself to go outside and take a walk. And I would force myself to drink water or whatever that, eat something healthy or whatever it is. And I didn't want to do any of the things, but like, talk about having to sit in it. When you feel really bad like that, you have to sit in it. But I didn't have the option of getting busy at that time, right? So I had to kind of sit in the things. But if we don't feel our feelings, we'll never heal. And we're going to repeat, if you're talking about relationship, then we're going to repeat the same relationship over and over again with a different person, right? Because we're still the same.
Let's rock, let's roll, let's go. Julie, welcome to the Who You Know Show.
Trevor, oh my gosh, that might be one of my favorite intros ever. I love how you just pull a couple little nuggets here and there and don't read a formalized bio and just like, here we go. Let's, yeah, that's right. You're doing an early mic drop. I love it. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. Well, you're welcome. Well, I'm excited because, I've been through a lot of those questions myself as I was setting it up because, like I said, I self-limiting beliefs, sometimes it gets into our head and causes us to lower our confidence level, and it impacts us in so many different ways. So I'm excited you're here because you really help people with this positive stuff. And so how do you think, that kind of leads me to my first question, which is, how do you think, positive thoughts and positivity plays a role in navigating career transition? What do you think about that?
Well, I think positivity plays a role, honestly, in everything in our lives. And sometimes inside my work with John Gordon, we say we're not positive because life is easy. We're positive because life is hard. And when you talk about a career transition, transitions are hard. And if we let negativity and self doubt and terrible self-talk and all of that stuff creep in when we're trying to make a transition that in theory is going to be a great new thing for us, it can slow us down, it can shut us down, it can set us back. So positivity is everything, really. And all of our lives starts in the mind. Everything starts with our mindset.
Well, and I agree with that. And sometimes it's easier said than done, right? Like, you go through a season in your life, especially if that transition wasn't something that you asked for, right? Um, and we go through these seasons, and I mean, not just career transition, it could be maybe you're saying goodbye to relationships, meaning, maybe you got a divorce, maybe you're moving into a new season of your life, right? And how does somebody really take a moment to reframe their mindset? Because again, it is all about perception. It's either half empty or half full, right? The glass. So, but when you're going through it, your emotions, it's like, oh, you just want to cry. You're like, I just lost my job, or my wife's divorcing me, or whatever. How do you go, no, 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 no? How do you flip that script and look at it half full?
Well, I'll give you two examples. I'll give you a personal one and a work one. And I love that you use the word reframe because that's really what it's all about. So I'll give you the personal example first. And that is my husband and I are very recent empty nesters. So our youngest son just went off to college. And when he left, I was devastated. I was walking around the grocery store like, I don't need to buy that and I don't need to buy that. And it's so sad. And my house is so quiet. And like, wah, empty nest, right? And then someone said to me, your nest is not empty. Your nest is open. And your nest is open and ready and prepared whenever they want to come back and come home and be welcomed and loved and all things. And I was like, wow, that's a pretty good reframe. That's not even my own idea. So, but I just loved that idea of just viewing it as an open nest. And now every time my kids come home, both of my kids were home this weekend, and it was like, come on in, welcome. And then I can get all the groceries and I can do all the things. And maybe I'm going to baby them a little bit, but just thinking about it as an open nest and then looking forward to the cool things that come with the empty nest. So now I get to travel with my husband. Now we get to go to both of their colleges for all the football games and have fun and hang out with them as adults and, just all the new things that come with that. So I think it's really that reframing of this isn't all sad and doom and gloom, but there are lots of cool things that come with something new, even though maybe I was sad when they hit the bricks, right? Like when we moved them in and they left. So that's a personal example. And then I'll share a work example as well. And that was when I left the Hershey Company. So I spent a couple of decades in sales and sales leadership with the Hershey Company. I was selling candy and leading teams all over the US. And I needed to go and it was time to leave. So it took a couple of years of kind of thinking about it and planning and all the things. But when I left almost 10 years ago now, I started working with John Gordon. And for those who don't know John, he's a best-selling author and speaker, like multiple best-selling author and speaker. And I wanted to be a speaker. And there were a lot of things that led to it. But I had used John's work from the energy bus inside my team at Hershey, and I saw how much it worked. And it just planted this huge seed inside of me that I was like, oh, I need to share this work in a bigger way. And I want to speak about the energy bus. Well, guess what? I left my big corporate, well compensated position, and I started out speaking about the energy bus for free and for very, very little money. And so when you go through a change like that, of course, the self doubt is going to pop in. And of course, you're going to say, after 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years of hustling, who am I to do this? And maybe I should go back and get a corporate job and all the things. And it's hard not to let that stuff crop into your mind, especially when you used to be a big contributor to your household financially, and now you're not. And what kind of identity things are tied to those. So there's a lot. So I had to really, really work on my mindset during that time. And I had to learn how to believe in myself and how to reframe that whole idea of starting over from what I sometimes would say, oh, I'm starting from scratch. I'm starting from nothing. But the truth is, I wasn't starting from nothing. I was starting from over 20 years of business experience that led me to start building. That gave me the skill set to build what I was doing now. So, and the other thing I want to say about that, just around the idea of reframing that you mentioned at the very beginning, is I had to go back and look at the record, because when I started saying to myself, who are you to be a speaker? Who are you to do all this stuff? Then I went back and I looked at the record of my career at Hershey and I was like, oh, I taught that training class for a whole year. I spoke on the national sales meeting stage this year and that year and this year. And I presented to senior leadership all the time, once a quarter, and all the things. And I was like, huh, that's interesting. I actually do have a lot of experience being a speaker. But I had to remind myself. And so we have to go back and kind of look at the record and remind our brain that we're not really starting from scratch when we make a change, whatever change that is. Even you even mentioned, divorces or relationship changes or job changes. You got to look at the record and what you've already gotten through and show your brain that you've done that. And so you did it then. Why can't you do it now?
I love this. I love this. So, a couple of things that I gave you the mic drop because you're not starting over, you're starting from experience. And, you got lessons and you've got things that hopefully you've been learning along the way, hopefully. But what I like about what you said is, it sounds like in both examples, it really is about taking inventory about, what that change looks like and what the opportunity is, the positive, and stop looking at the negative, like what you said about being the empty nester. So I want to sit down and maybe look at, hey, here's all these new things that I get to do. I get to go travel and go to the colleges and go to the games, and I get to entertain and make a big party when they come home, and I get to do this and do that. And like looking at it from, again, a glass half empty, mentality of positivity. What are the positive things that can go on here? So as an example, for someone maybe going through career transition, okay, cool. Remember, you're not starting over, you're starting from experience. Okay. And what are the things that are positive I want you to write all of those down on a piece of paper. Well, hey, guess what? Right now in this season, you've got more time. You have control over your time. So what could you do with that time that you have right now? Could you go get some things done that maybe you've been putting off and procrastinating on, the honeydew list around the house? What are some things, think about the positives. There are positives if you're looking, right? If you're not looking, right, where your focus becomes your reality. So if you're focused on doom and gloom and, oh my gosh, and I can't believe this is happening to me and I'm running out of income and, right? Well, guess what? That's your reality. If you're focused on why your life sucks, then your life's going to suck.
I mean, Trevor, I cannot agree with you more. We say all the time inside our work, how you see the world determines the world you see. And I say those exact words often about if you're looking for doom and gloom, you're going to find it easily. There's plenty of it to go around. We can all find doom and gloom everywhere, especially right now. Holy bananas. We're like a 1 week leading up to the election and all the things. But what are you looking for? Are you looking for the kind people? Are you looking for this someone who holds the door for you? Are you looking for the smile? Are you looking for the compliments that come your way? Like, what are you looking for? Because if you're only focused on the negatives, that's just the life you're going to create, and that's the truth. So we are so aligned on that.
I do also though, and I find myself trying to figure this one out still, and maybe you have some tips or tricks around this one. So let's just say it's day one, meaning it's day one. I just got divorce papers, or I just got fired, let go, whatever the case may be. Day one, I'm devastated, right? What do you think someone should do in that case? How do they handle that?
Well, the first thing they should not do is sweep it under the rug and get busy doing all the things. Because I can tell you, I've made that mistake many times where I'm like, I'm hurting, I'm sad. And then I'm like, what are all the things that I can add to my calendar? Let me go vacuum some rooms or get some meetings or do some things or schedule some plans. And then you're just stuffing it down and stuffing it down and stuffing those feelings down. So you may have heard the expression before, the only way out is through. So the first thing I would say is like sit in it. And it is so hard to sit in it. I mean, it is so hard. So I am not suggesting that this is easy. So just find a way to feel your feelings and kind of work through those one thing at a time. When I was going through breast cancer 5 years ago, it was so hard. And I just had a lot of hard days. And I would say to myself, like, one step at a time, one glass of water at a time. And I would force myself to go outside and take a walk. And I would force myself to drink water or whatever that, eat something healthy or whatever it is. And I didn't want to do any of the things, but like, talk about having to sit in it. When you feel really bad like that, you have to sit in it. But I didn't have the option of getting busy at that time, right? So I had to kind of sit in the things. But if we don't feel our feelings, we'll never heal. And we're going to repeat, if you're talking about relationships, then we're going to repeat the same relationship over and over and over again with a different person, right? Because we're still the same. We have to find a way to heal our feelings. So don't sweep it under the rug. I also suggest journaling, like get your feelings out on paper. No one ever has to see those notes that you write, but at least you get it out during that time. And probably the next thing I would say is step into some gratitude, because that's the quickest way to move from being stressed into feeling blessed, is to be grateful for something. And I wrote about in my book, Mirror, Mirror, I wrote about this idea of being grateful, not for things, but being grateful in things. So even in the hardest things, you can still be grateful. So I'll use the cancer example. In my cancer experience, I most certainly was not grateful for it and all the things that went along with it, mastectomy, chemotherapy, radiation, all the things. But I could be grateful in it. And I could be noticing the things that were happening around me, like people bringing me meals and the unbelievable amount of calls and texts and cards and letters and people who would sit by me for 4 hours during chemo and all those things. So again, not grateful for it, grateful in it. And I think that nuance is really powerful.
That is so good. That is so good. So number one, Okay, let me just, for the audience, let me just recap what I'm hearing here, make sure I'm on the same page. Okay. Number one is, like you said before, to when you're going through it, to feel it, right? To get it out of your system, like you said, journaling, or I think it's important. Like, you don't want to sit in the funk. You want to feel it, but we don't want to sit in it too long. We don't want to. I think who says when you're going through hell, keep going, right? Like, keep going. Don't pitch a tent. Don't pitch a tent and stay in hell, right? Like, you don't want to feel it for too long, but I do think it's important to feel it and get it out of your system. So whatever that means for you, whether that means, like, I've had times in my life where I've literally been devastated, on the ground, broken, crying, bawling, pounding the ground, like mad, angry. If you gotta scream, okay, or maybe like you said, journal, whatever you have to do to clear it out, get all of that negativity out. Cause really all of those emotions, they're real, but they are kind of negative. Get it all out. Cry. You know what I mean? And then I love the gratitude, right? And figuring out things to be grateful for. That's shifting the focus from, okay, I did all this negativity. I got it all out. Now I'm shifting that focus somewhere positive. And if you can't think of anything positive, what I would like for you to do is, I want you to go volunteer, go do something, go give, go serve. Okay. And I promise you, you will instantly feel better. Okay. When you go volunteer, serve, give, help someone else, it's a selfless thing, right? And you're taking yourself out of your own, oh, woe is me scenario, and you're helping someone else. And it just fills you with gratitude and joy. And it's really, really hard to be negative when you're, like, volunteering, helping, serving. It's really hard. Like,
I totally agree. That is one of the quickest ways to step out of your own stuff, is to just start doing something for someone else. So I'm so glad you shared that. And I will share one other tip, and this is kind of how I start my day every day, regardless of if I'm in a hard thing or a great day or whatever it is. But every day, thank you for the breath in my lungs and the heart beating in my body. And on our worst day, or on yours and mine and everyone else's worst day, we have that. So if you start there, it makes the rest of the gratitude really easier to flow, because it's like, okay, I'm here. It's another day on this planet. Now I can look around and say, thank you for the blue sky. Thank you for my puppy. Thank you for my home. Thank you for my beautiful children, whatever is around you. But when you start with the breath in your lungs and the heart beating in your body, it's really powerful.
yeah, no, I love that. The heart beating in the body, the breath in the lungs. There's a physical aspect to what you're talking about. Uh, we talked about the emotional, but there's actually a physical aspect to, positivity. And like, I'll give a practical example too. Is I built one of those ice baths. It's one of those big chest freezers that I watched some YouTube videos, and I made an ice bath in my house, right? And I'm going to tell you, it is damn near impossible for me to get out of that ice bath negative. It's
That's awesome.
it's impossible.
Yeah,
You
because
get
you're
out,
so proud of your achievement of being in there, right?
well, and when you get out, you're like, thank God I'm out of that. Like,
Thank
you
goodness for
immediately
this warm towel.
exactly, you immediately go to gratitude. You're like, thank God that's over with. Like, it's and there's science behind the super proteins or whatever. I've watched some videos on what happens when you go into an ice bath. So there's a physical aspect. So what are you doing to, like, working out is another one. Like, there's science behind when you work out, it does some endorphins or whatever. I don't know this. I'm not a doctor or whatever. I don't know all the stuff that goes on behind it, but it helps your mental focus. It helps you to become more positive. So I would say for the listeners, if you're going through a hard time, if you're going through something like that, look into the physical aspects of it, right? So I love that
It's
you shared
yeah,
that.
it's powerful. I mean, and just get out and go for a walk. A lot of times, and I did this for years when I was kind of grinding in a corporate office environment. I would stay at my desk and eat lunch at my desk and think that I was getting more work done if I stay at my desk and keep clickety clicketing and, shoving the food in my face while I'm having lunch. It's not. There's so much research that shows that if you actually get up and take a walk, even if it's for 10 or 20 minutes, and then come sit back down, it refreshes your body and your mind, and you can be more productive. So there's just so many things about the body and the brain. So I couldn't agree more about the exercise piece. And I struggle with that too sometimes. Oh, I have so many things. I don't have time. Yes, we do. And you can have a walking meeting. You can literally put your earbuds in and go for a walk and catch up on some phone calls with your colleagues, with your friends, whatever you need to do. But or you can, if you work in an office environment, let's walk around the building during lunch and have a walking meeting. I've had meetings with John Gordon walking on the beach, which is by far my favorite type of meeting, walking on the beach. But seriously, like we can find a way to get up and get moving in some way. It doesn't have to be 60 minutes of some hardcore class at the gym or whatever, or more than that. Just do it in a way that works for you to get a little bit of that kind of brain and body refresh. So yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, you don't have to be at the gym,
Yeah.
right? You can do it. I've got one of those, the walking pad.
Oh, you
I don't,
do?
yeah, it's a
Right there?
stand up desk. See, hold on, this is my stand up desk. It's going up right now. I have to stand up. Hold on,
Oh,
wait,
that is hysterical.
wait. See, now I'm sitting down.
Oh, now
See
you're
that?
too low.
Yeah, see that? Oh wait, hold on. Let's get it back. Get it back for the audience. Get it back for the audience. But no,
Oh,
and
that
then the
is
thing
hysterical.
underneath my desk flips out, and you get a little walking pad over here. So, because look, we're in the Zoom world. Okay, we're in this
We
digital
are.
world. We're in the Zoom world. So if you are at a desk, if you're at a computer all the time, look, I'm gonna tell you, uh, a walking pad, kind of a cool little thing that you can do, little practical thing that you can get your blood moving, pumping as you're maybe having Zoom calls or doing a podcast. Heck, you can do it. So anyway, I love that. That's great. What do you think? Let's shift it a little bit from, we were talking about how do we overcome some practical steps to overcome, being devastated and being in a transition side of your life and, being able to get back up. Well, now let's talk about, we mentioned earlier, limiting beliefs, right? Times in your life where you're like, um, I, I just don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can finish, to give you an example, I'm in the process right now myself of creating an online course. I've been working on it for about 5 months now. I'm getting close to the finish line of this thing, which is amazing. But man, it's been a journey, right? And there were several times throughout this journey where I'm like, "Who am I? Like, who? This is. I don't know if I can do this." And I haven't even crossed the finish line. And once I cross the finish line, then I still have to sell it. There's a whole other side of it, right? So trust me, I get that sometimes from time to time of who am I? Why would they buy it from? What da, 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 right? And it gets in there, and then I have to say shut up. But what are your thoughts on how somebody can really quiet the noise? Um, I think you say clear the fog, right? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think when I wrote about clearing the fog was a little acronym that stands for forgetting our greatness. So when I wrote Mirror, Mirror, and it was 5 reflections, it is 5 reflections to clear the fog and help you shine. I envisioned the mirror in our bathrooms, that foggy mirror when we get out of the shower from being in a hot shower, maybe a little too long, and the mirror's all fogged up. But clearing the fog is forgetting our greatness. And when we look in the mirror, we often, not everyone, but a lot of people look in the mirror and they see distorted images of themselves. We all do it, right? We look in the mirror and we go, I'll use myself as an example. Oh, the wrinkles. Oh, the gray hair, all the things, right? You get in the mirror and you just start right with criticism. And it's very disempowering for us to do that, to have the first thing you do in the morning is to walk in front of the mirror and you're grabbing your toothbrush or whatever you do, and you're starting to tear yourself down and tear yourself apart with that reflection that you see in the mirror. But what I want people to be able to do is instead meet themselves in the mirror with smiles, with acceptance, with joy, like literally smiling at yourself in the mirror and going so far as to say, "Good morning, gorgeous. Good morning, fabulous." Whatever you need to do. And I know it sounds kind of dorky and hard and whatever, but there is a ton of research about the way we interact with ourselves in the mirror. We can actually catch emotions from ourselves. So there's research about smiling that shows that if you smile at yourself in the mirror, you can catch that emotion, that kind of release of endorphins. You can catch that from yourself. You don't have to count on somebody else at the grocery store, at work, or whenever. You can smile at yourself in the mirror and you can kind of get that positive feedback from yourself. But then you have to find ways to speak positivity to the things that we see, to the I'm so whatever it is in the mirror. And I'll give you an even more powerful example than my current state. When I was going through breast cancer and I was bald and I had no eyelashes, no hair, no eyebrows, no nothing. And honestly, I thought I was scary. Like I would look at myself and I was like, oh, I'm so scary. I'm so disgusting. I'm so awful. Like the way I would speak to myself, like if it's not bad enough to be going through cancer, but then when you kick yourself when you're down and say things like that, it's absolutely awful. And I had to stop. I had to find a way to stop. And my kids were telling me, oh, you're so beautiful, mom. And I was like, no, I'm not, no, but I had to find a way to stop that because it was really making me feel worse. So to say that there's not a mind body connection is just not the truth. So I had to turn it around and find a way to make myself feel better. So what I would start saying to myself is, you are strong, you are powerful, you are a warrior. Whatever I needed to say, I did not say you look beautiful. So, for me, that's kind of the nuance of this self-talk piece is you got to say something that you believe about yourself to yourself. So don't do this false, I'm so beautiful. If you don't feel beautiful, tell yourself something true that you believe that's positive, and you can start changing that, change those interactions in the mirror. Honestly, that's my dream for people is that we all walk into the mirror and we're just like, good morning, fabulous, whatever it is. You can high five yourself like Mel Robbins tells us to do, whatever you need to do, but making that interaction more positive because that's a great way to start your day off right.
Oh my gosh. No, I love that because yeah, positive words of affirmation, speaking that over yourself.
Yes.
There's been times where I've been in a real negative funk.
Hmm. Haven't we
And
all?
right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I'm driving in my car and somebody cuts me off or whatever. And I'm like, you get that negative funk, you're like, ah. And I've had to catch myself, like, wait a minute, hold on, and like literally stop myself and start saying positive things out loud to reshift my mind because it was taking my day in a negative direction. And we've all had those days where literally when you wake up, you already know it. When you wake up, you immediately go, crap, today's going to be one of those days. Okay?
Ooh, don't say that
You know,
though.
I know that's what I'm saying. But you have the feeling, okay? So don't say
Yes.
that is what you're absolutely right. But you have the feeling, you know it. You're like, you wake up and you're like, and you want to say it, right? Today's going to be one of those days. Why is that? Well, for me, when I have that happen to me, I know I'm low on energy. I'm tired. I'm physically tired. I'm emotionally tired. I'm tired. I'm tired. And so my fuse is this small. And so now anything that comes my way is triggering negativity, right? And so you immediately wake up, you feel that feeling, you're like, you're right. You go, today's going to be one of those days. And then it's a domino effect. because all of a sudden you're looking for negative things. You're looking for that guy to cut you off. You're looking for someone to say something wrong to you. And you're like, I just knew it. See, I told you today was going to be one of those days. And you're speaking it into, you're manifesting the worst day of your life.
100%. And I mean, there's so many things to be said about that, but the truth is, whatever we say it's going to be, we're right. We're creating that. But also, I think you mentioned something important. Not that I know this is a little bit of a tangent, but you said about being tired. You mentioned about being tired. Sleep is one of the biggest foundational elements of our health. And when we're tired, it makes our fuses shorter. It makes us lash out at people a little bit easier. We're not able to focus as much at work. So when we're tempted to scroll TikTok late into the night or Netflix, way late in the night or whatever we're going to do, maybe resist the temptation and find a way to get a little more sleep, because that foundational element of our health really does help us start out in a better mood. And I know some people struggle with sleep anyway, including myself, but if you the part you can control about going to bed at a decent hour, do that.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that is such a good one. It's, what's so funny about life, I was talking to a good buddy of mine. He's like a brother of mine, and he's had some challenges, and I said, "Bro, life's hard. Like, life is hard. We got to balance all these different things. That's why this show's about your wealth, health, business, career, relationships, your life. I mean, life is complex. You've got all these different elements, your spiritual life. I mean, got all these things we got to balance, right? And what you're talking about is, when you're tired, right? When you're out of energy, it's a lot of times all these things that we're talking about, these little tips and tricks and different things, it's like the little things. The little things make all the difference. They make all the difference. And so, yeah, what are you doing? Are you staying up all night with your cell phone, scrolling? What are you feeding your mind? Right? Right now, like you talked about, we're in an election, right? So what are you feeding your mind? All these little things, they add up. They make a big difference. And so for me, I go to sleep, and a lot of people make fun of me for this, whatever. I go to sleep at 8:30, 9 o'clock. Okay. I'm up at 4:30, 4:35. That's where I'm up. Yeah. And I have a routine, and I get things done. But the important part is, I think with the sleep, it's not about when you go to bed and all of that. I think it's like a routine. Are you getting enough sleep? Right? Because let's say you go to bed at 11. Okay, cool. You go to bed at 11. But are you getting 8 hours of sleep consistently every night? Or are you you're still waking up at 6, and so you only had, 6, 7 hours of sleep, whatever. You hear where I'm going with that? Like, consistency with your sleep pattern, I think, is really, really important. And, they've done all the research and stuff like that. I think 8
Totally.
hours is good. Are you getting 8 hours? What are you doing? So,
Totally.
anyway.
I mean, and the question is, do you want to bring your best to the people around you every day? And most people would say, of course I want to bring my best. Okay, well, why don't you start with a good night's sleep?
Mhm. So, okay, I also when I met you, Julie, it was at, Amberly Lago's conference, and, the Unstoppable Mastermind Conference. She's amazing, and shout out Amberly, she's just one of my favorite people. And, I went to that conference, and I never seen anything like it before in my life, where I see this big group of women all lifting each other up, all like helping each other. And normally, I've heard a lot from women actually about more of the crabs in a bucket mentality, where there's not enough space at the top, and so they're all trying to figure out how to step on each other to get to the top. And I did not see that there. It was all about empowering women. It was beautiful, actually. I was like, this is cool, right? And so I know you focus a lot on empowering women in leadership and helping them to become their best selves. So talk to me about that. What advice do you have for women specifically stepping into leadership roles, or trying to overcome imposter syndrome, or or whatever it is. What tell me what you do for women specifically.
Well, my partner and I actually wrote a book and a journal called You Grow Girl. And the subtitle of that book is Plant and Pursue the Power of You. And it's so much more than a book and journal. It really is a movement to help women of all ages and stages grow into their full potential. So inside that, we have a structure around the word cultivate. So it's 9 letters. It's an acronym. It's 9 letters in the word cultivate, and each letter represents a chapter and a part of the book. But it's a tool to help women grow into their full potential. So, and we were really intentional about all ages and stages. So when you say, how do we help women? We're talking to college age girls. We're talking to women in their 80s and everyone in between, everyone in our age. And it's just awesome to see women really resonating with the messages. And we talk about things like, and it all starts with creating the environment for growth. So if you want to grow, how do you grow in your environment? So how do you be mindful of the environment in your mind, the environment around you? And there's so much more around that. But then unlocking courage and confidence, loving yourself and others, inviting input, and so on and so forth with the acronym. But we want to be able to help anyone who wants to grow. You have to have the desire to grow first, right? And if you have that desire, we want to serve you and we want to support you. And I know this is not meant to be any kind of an advertisement. So that's not what I'm trying to do. But we do have ways to support women in a way that's free and virtual in a couple different ways. And we just want to build community and serve whoever wants to be served with a message of growth.
I love it. I love it. Like I said, I think it's important, and I've seen, like I said at Amberley's conference, and I got to hear you speak, and was like, I love this. I mean, it's needed. I think, because there is power in community, and when women can get together, it was very powerful. Everybody was helping each other, so I think that's amazing. Talk to me about your book, Mirror Mirror.
Yeah,
Yeah,
mirror,
talk to me
mirror.
about that. Mirror Mirror on the wall. Who's the what are we gonna say here?
Most powerful of them all.
Most powerful. Let's go.
And you know the answer to that, right? It's you. And
You already know. Come on.
it's funny. I appreciate you asking about Mirror Mirror. And you really set the stage for this in one of your earlier questions when you were talking about um, kind of our self-talk and the way we engage with ourselves in the mirror. So I wrote about that in Mirror Mirror, but the whole idea of this book is kind of the subtitle is 5 reflections to clear the fog and help you shine. And you said this at the very beginning of the intro. It's a dark world. And I wanted people through the insights and the work in this book to be able to shine their light, turn up the dimmer switch, and be able to give that light to people around them because we need it. We need it personally, but everyone around us needs that light. And if we don't know how to actually turn up that dimmer switch, then we're not shining it on others. So the book is built on an acronym. I love acronyms, as you're maybe learning a little bit. So the acronym inside the book is SHINE. That's the structure for the whole book. And inside each of those letters, there are a couple of chapters just really helping us do just that. And that is shine our light on the world. And even if we're starting out kind of dim, how do we just slowly inch that up, right? And bring our best selves to the world. So really proud of this. This took launched in 2023. And I just, people have resonated with it. And I just wanted to make a difference for people.
Oh, that's so cool. Writing a book is like giving a baby, you know, like having a baby. I said giving a baby, giving a baby. No, it's like having a baby, right? So like you talk to me about as you were writing that book, because I know I've actually written 2 books. I haven't published them yet, but I've written 2. And there was a process and a journey and discovery even for myself as I was writing it. It was like, I was discovering new things. Was there a discovery process for you when you were writing this book where you were like, oh, wow, it's really interesting, and I didn't know. Did it help you in any way as you were writing the book?
Oh, yes, of course, because I'm writing about so many things that I've learned along the way, but also in the process acknowledging that I'm far from perfect in the things that I'm teaching. So I can teach and I can write and I can share my experiences, but I also had to acknowledge that I'm still practicing these things too. Even though I am the quote expert as I'm writing these things, I still have to remind myself all the time of some of the things in here. And I just, when you write a book, we all have different goals when we write a book. Some people write a book and they want to be a bestseller and they think it's going to make them famous and, all the reasons. And whatever anyone's reason is for writing a book, that's a great reason because it's yours. But for me, I think it's the accomplishment of coming up with a structure and articulating your ideas and having the heart that it's going to make a difference. And if 100 people read it or 10,000 or 100,000 or a million, I'm still good with that. Like it's okay. However many people it touches, it's okay. I hope it's a lot, of course, but I can control that part. I can control making the book the best it can possibly be. And then I just have to release it and let it go. And it'll touch the people it's meant to touch.
Amen to that. Well, one of the things you said was, you're supposed to be the expert as you're writing it, but there's things even there for yourself as you're going through it. Like I've experienced that a couple of times where I'm either writing the book or like right now I'm creating this course and, doing these things. And like, as I'm creating or writing, I am solving a puzzle or a problem, right? And oftentimes I go, well, dang, here's what I would do. Let me try to find the solutions to this. And then sometimes that negative self-talk comes in where the imposter syndrome comes in because you're like it's almost like you're creating it for yourself, right? But I think I've heard a lot of people talk about start before you're ready, or it, you know what I'm talking about? Like, so what would you say to that? Like, as you were writing the book, was there a time in there where you got imposter syndrome? You're like, okay, I'm writing as if I'm the expert on this, but this is still like a theory until you put it into practice. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Talk to me.
I love your interviewing style, by the way. It's so good. Anyway, for me, I didn't always count on myself to be the full expert. In the case of Mirror Mirror, I did so much research. I mean, there is so much sourcing inside this book. I mean, when you start to study your craft, whatever it is you're writing about, I mean, the first letter in the SHINE acronym is SMILE, which means, oh, okay, cool, smile. There are hundreds of thousands of studies about smiling and the impact it has. And so I found all these studies and as I was writing, I could read a study, look at the takeaways from the study, and then I could build some stories around that or some examples in my own life. So I think you don't have to always count on yourself to be the whole expert because there are plenty of experts out there who have already written about that thing that you're writing about. And so that's really what I did.
Yeah, I love that you said that. I love that you said that because you're absolutely right. Like, if you're going to teach something, right? You have this idea in your head. So guys or gals, whoever's listening right now, if you're thinking about writing a book or creating a course or teaching something or what have you, right? It starts with an idea and you break down that idea into modules or chapters or lessons or what have you, right? You're breaking it down. And a big part of the process is research, right? Like you've got to go if you want to, like, because you want to teach it, right? So you want to go look at all these sources and see, you're actually learning yourself. You are discovering yourself through the process of creating. And so that's where sometimes that negative self-talk comes in because you're like, if I'm still learning, why am I teaching? Right. Like, I'm still learning, right? That's a bunch of baloney, okay? What you're saying is, hell, you're becoming the expert by learning all that stuff if you think about it, right? You're becoming the expert because you are really honing in your craft. You've already got it up here. You're just really diving even deeper so that you can fully
Yeah.
understand it, so that you can really unpack it, so that you can tell stories around it and be able to deliver it in a way that captures an audience's attention and things like that. So, no, you are becoming the expert, right? Through the process of creating. And so I love that you said that, because if anybody can relate who's written a book or done any of that stuff, you do get that negative. You're like, ah, you
No
know what I
doubt.
mean?
Of course. That's normal, though. That's normal. And we just have to speak truth to those lies. So that's it.
So anybody got time for all that? Okay, we ain't got
I
time.
can't wait to read your books and hear about your course and all the things.
They got thank you. They got sidetracked, okay? I'm like ADHD all over, like new shiny thing. Boop, 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 right? And I started I wrote 2 books, and then this course took my attention, and I've just been like head down focused. And I know it's one thing to write something, it's a whole nother thing to sell it. And I don't have the time and energy. I don't have the time and energy for that right now to go out and do what it takes to sell it. I need to, like, I know my priority is this course. So I put my head down in this course. Once that's done and launched and out and successful and blah, 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 then I'm going to go back to those books and get them on the shelf. But right now they're just sitting there. So we'll get them out one of these days. This this has been really good. I got just a couple more questions for you. I think we'll wrap things up. But um, so leadership, right? You talk a lot about heart centered leadership. What is that? When you say heart centered leadership, what does that mean to you? Why is it essential that leaders are practicing that? And how do we get some of it?
Yes. Well, I led teams for a long time at the Hershey Company, and I kind of self defined myself as a heart centered leader. And what does that mean? It means connecting with the human that is in front of you, not just grinding and driving them to do all the tasks that they have to do to fulfill the obligations of the job. When I'm going to have a one on one with you, or even in a team meeting, I'm going to connect with you first. I'm going to ask you how you're doing. I'm going to understand a little bit of what's going on in your life. Then we're going to get into the business. I'm going to open my eyes and watch you and see what you're doing and how you're doing it. And I'm going to notice if maybe something doesn't look quite right, or if you look like you're struggling, or you look like you need a little bit of help. And then I'm going to ask, and I'm not going to ignore it and say, hey, it's deadline time. And believe me, I absolutely care about the business and the business needs to get done. But it's really just doing the business with care and with love and with really recognizing the whole human that's in front of you first and finding a way to inspire those humans to want to do their best at the job that they're doing. So really the simplest way to say it's just leading with love. And I really, truly believe in that.
I love that. I love that. It reminds me, I had Claudia Silver on the show. Do you know who that is?
Oh, I do not know Claudia, but I need
Claudia,
to listen to that.
she's amazing. She's like Gary V's right hand girl.
Awesome. Yeah.
Okay, like she runs the show. All right, and it's all about she's the chief heart officer for VaynerMedia and Gary V. Right, and so I remember when we had her on the show, and it was a great episode. I mean, it was exactly what you're talking about. When you've got like her job is to go, really meet with the employees and figure out what their goals, ambitions, their dreams, not just the career side, but like what's behind it, what's the heart behind it. And anyway, I just love what you're saying there because it reminded me of that. Um, I know you've got some events coming up. Talk to me about what you got going on, and where can the audience plug in with everything, Julie?
Okay. Yes. For You Grow Girl, which we talked a little bit about You Grow Girl earlier. We have an event coming up on November 19th. It is on Women's Entrepreneurship Day, and it is a free live virtual event from 3 to 5:30 Eastern time. And we have pulled together an incredible lineup of speakers to share business strategies, and also inspire and energize the audience. And truly, it is going to, Amberly will be part of it. And quite an, yes, she is. And an amazing
Look,
lineup of
listen, hey,
other
y'all need to
speakers.
go. I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna tell you right now. You need to go. Okay.
You got to
Uh,
go. It's free.
I'm telling
So
you.
yes, listen to Trevor. Listen to Trevor. And honestly, come like whoever's listening, come invite your colleagues, invite your friends, invite anyone who you think needs someone to kind of pour into them, not only business strategies but inspiration. It's going to be incredible. So you can go to you-grow-girl.com. And then if you want to do the // Women's Entrepreneur Day, otherwise you can just click on events and you'll find the link to the event and you can sign up there. If you want to follow us as a You Grow Girl community, we're on Instagram at You Grow Girl Community. And if you want to connect with me, you can connect with me at Julie Nee 108 on Instagram. And then of course, just Julie Nee on LinkedIn.
I love it. Listen, y'all need to go. Okay. Just trust me on this. Okay. Listen, I've seen how these women get together and put it together. Okay. I've seen it. Okay. I was like, wow, I want to join this group. Okay. Amberly's mastermind and all of that. It's women only. I'm like, man, come on. Right.
Well, you can still come to our Women's Entrepreneurship Day event. You might be one of a few men, but you're still welcome.
I mean, it's just cool to get around that energy and to see it firsthand. It's really cool. And, I just appreciate what you guys are doing, what you gals are doing. Okay. I appreciate what you gals are doing out here and, lifting people up and allowing, women to step into their greatness, And I just appreciate it. So thank you, Julie, for coming on the show. Thanks for all the mic drops of wisdom that you dropped on this episode. Y'all connect with Julie, okay? And do me a big old favor. If you're still tuning in live right now, I'd like you to just hit that share button. Make sure we get this all across the world, okay? Somebody needs to hear our message today. And it could be you that helped it reach to them, okay? So make sure you hit that share button. Julie, thanks so much for coming on the Who You Know show. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Trevor. You're awesome.
You are very welcome. Well, guys, that's the show. It's all about who you know. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Who You Know Show podcast. My name is Trevor Houston, and if you've enjoyed this episode, consider subscribing wherever you listen and leave us a positive review to help us keep the mics on in the studio. Until next week, that's the show. It's all about who you know.